Hello, this is Delia again, and I'm reading Scary Stories 3 More Tales to Chill Your Bones. This story is called Faster and Faster. Sam and his cousin Bob went walking in the woods. The only sounds were leaves rustling and now and again a bird chirping. So quiet here, Bob whispered. But that soon changed. A few minutes, the two boys started whooping and hollering and chasing after one another all around. Sam ducked behind a tree when Bob came by. Sam jumped out at him. Then Bob raced ahead and hid behind a bush. When he looked down, there at his feet was an old drum. Sam, see what I found? He called. It looks like what's it? Tommyton. I bet it's 100 years old. Look at the red stains on it, said Sam. I bet it's somebody's blood. Let's get out of here. But Bob could not resist trying the drum. He sat on the ground and held it between his legs. He beat on it with one hand, then the other, slowly at first and faster, almost as if he could not stop. Suddenly, there were shouts in the woods and the sounds of hoof beats. A cloud of dust rose from behind a line of trees. Then men on horseback galloped toward them. Bob, let's go, Sam shouted. He began to run. Hurry! Bob dropped the drum and ran after him. Sam heard the twang of a bow firing an arrow. Then he heard Bob scream. When Sam turned, he saw Bob pitch forward, dead. But there was no arrow in his body. There was no wound. And when the police searched, there were no men on horseback. And there were no hoof prints. And there was no drum. The only sounds were leaves rustling in, now and again, and birds chirping. That was cool. Okay, so next story is Just Delicious. George Flint loved to eat. Each day at noon, he closed the camera shop for 2 hours, went home for a big lunch with his wife, Mina. She would cook for him. George was a bully, and Mina was a timid woman who did everything he asked because she was afraid of him. On his way home for lunch one day, George stopped at the butcher shop and bought a pound of liver. He loved liver. He would have Mina cook it for dinner that night. Despite his complaints about her, she was a very good cook. While George ate his lunch, Mina told him that a rich old woman in town had died. Her body was in the church next door. It was in an open coffin. Anyone who wanted to see her could, as usual. George was not interested in what Mina had to say. I've got to go back to work, he told her. After he left, Mina began to cook the liver. She added vegetables and spices and simmered it all afternoon, just the way George liked it. When she thought it was done, she cut off a small piece and tasted it. It was delicious, the best she had ever made. She ate a second piece, then a third. It was so good she could not stop eating it. It was only when the liver was all gone that she thought of George. He would be coming home soon. What would he do when he found out she had eaten it all? What would he do if he found out that she had eaten all the liver? Some men would laugh, but not George. He would be angry and mean, and she did not want to face that again. But where could she get another piece of liver that late in the day? Then she remembered the old woman lying in the church next door, waiting to be buried. Ugh. That sounds disgusting. George said he never had a better dinner. Have some liver, Mia, he said. It's just delicious. I'm not hungry, she said. You finish it. That night, after George had fallen asleep, Mina sat in bed trying to read, but all she could think about was what she had done. Then she thought she heard a woman's voice. Who has my liver? It asked. Who has it? Was it her imagination? Was she dreaming? Now the voice was even closer. Closer. Who has my liver? It asked. Who has it? Minna wanted to run. No, no, she whispered. I don't have it. I don't have your liver. Now the voice was next to her. Who has my liver? It asked. Who has it? Minna froze with terror, and she pointed to George. He does, she said. He has it. Suddenly the lights went out, and George screamed and screamed. Ooh. So the next story will be Hello, Kate. And we'll read that in just a few minutes. And so far, these are pretty cool, except for that one kind of made me feel ill. But yeah, so there will be more coming.